Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. I'm Victor Matthias. The headlines. INEC declares APC flag bearer Bola Tinubu winner of the 2023 presidential election after polling over 8 million votes to defeat his closest rivals. Jubilation and protests trail INEC's conduct of the 2023 presidential election and declaration of Bola Tinubu as president-elect. The Supreme Court nullifies federal government's Naira redesign policy, orders old 200, 500 and 1,000 Naira notes to remain in circulation till December the 31st, says President's disobedience of the February 8th order is a sign of dictatorship. Plus, rail workers across Greece embark on a one-day strike as death toll climbs after Tuesday's train crash near the city of Larissa. And that's News Round in view. Now we begin News Round with Senator Bola Tinubu's triumph after the 2023 presidential election. INEC declared the APC presidential candidate winner of the keenly contested poll after polling a total of 8,794,726 votes. The presidential candidate of the PDP, Abubakar Atiku, scored 6,984,520 votes, while Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party polled 6,101,533 votes. Rabiu Kwankwaso polled 1,496,687 votes to come forth. During his acceptance speech, the president-elect appealed to opposition parties to join him in his mission to build a united country.
Tinubu Bola Ahmed of the APC, having satisfied the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Thank you.
This is the scene that greeted the announcement of former Lagos State Governor Senator Bola Tinubu as the 16th President of Nigeria after he secured the highest vote in the 2023 presidential election. It was a carnival-like atmosphere at the headquarters of the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress, as supporters were unmindful of the late night in anticipation of the president-elect.
We shall start. We're about to start. Please, we need to take our seats. Media.
Those in attendance include the wife of the president-elect, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the vice president-elect, Senator Kashim Shettima, some governors of the All Progressives Congress, and some members of the National Working Committee of the party. Accompanied by his wife, the president-elect delivers his acceptance speech, urging his opponents to work with him.
I say whether you are ratified or articulated, obedient, kwankwasia, or have any other political affiliation, you voted and struggled for a better Nigeria, more hopeful nation, and I thank you for your participation and dedication to our democracy. I take this opportunity also again to appeal to my fellow contestants to let us team up together. It is the only nation we have. It is one country that we must build together.
He appreciates the efforts of members of the party, which secured his victory, as well as the conduct of the exercise by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. He promises to bring solutions to the challenges in the country, especially in the education sector.
That I hear you loud and clear. What do I say? Loud and clear. Whatever the cost, we are going to chart the path together. We are going to embark on this journey together. And we pay attention, undivided attention to your education. We will be creative. Credit will be available. Education loan will be available. 4 years course will be 4 years course. No more strike. Your universities will have their autonomy to be able to upgrade your syllabuses and be creative. I know where it pains. And believe me, you will see the reward of your election.
The president-elect promises to treat all Nigerians fairly and equitably, while adopting an approach that will satisfy the yearnings of Nigerians.
There was excitement across the country as members of the All Progressives Congress have been celebrating the emergence of Senator Bola Tinubu as the president-elect of Nigeria. Our correspondents captured the mood of supporters in parts of the country following his declaration by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Members of the All Progressives Congress, on receiving news that the party's candidate has won, hit the streets in Ilorin, the Kwara State's capital. They are joined by other residents who are also elated over the result.
We are celebrating our principal, the man of the moment, the man that is destined by the Almighty God, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the thinker.
In Ekiti State, a jubilant crowd of APC supporters chant victory songs through the streets, leading to the government house to join the state governor. In Kano State, various support groups mobilized their members for a celebration rally.
We have a lot to express. That is the reason why we come here and gather together here to show our appreciation to Almighty Allah for giving us this victory.
We believe under him we are going to have a one Nigeria, irrespective of your ethnicity, your religion, and your political background.
And from Imo State in the southeast, an eyewitness video of some APC youths in Owerri celebrating Tinubu's victory. Lagos, the home state of the president-elect, is not left out in the celebration. Eyewitness video captures the mood of some residents in Surulere and Lagos Island. However, in some parts of the state, the roads and streets are quiet. From the government house in Alausa, Ikeja to Agege, Ogba and Alimosho, there is no activity to indicate the celebration of the party's victory at the presidential poll.
we should just say we should start celebrating loudly. It will look like we are oppressing or creating a nuisance. So we want everywhere to be calm, then we will do our celebration in a proper way. It is a victory for Yoruba, it is a victory for Igbo, and it is a victory for the Hausas. Tinubu is not for only one person, it is for the whole Nigeria. We will expect good thing from him, and inshallah, he will give us the good thing we want.
If you consider his antecedents as governor of Lagos State and the things that he did in Lagos, if he can replicate the same and even add more in the federation, then I want to believe that we should be in for a greater and a better Nigeria.
Perhaps it is never too late to say the celebrations may come in soon, but the attention of Lagosians is certainly turned to the governorship and House of Assembly elections in a few days' time.
Meanwhile, a group of protesters from opposition political parties are challenging the results of the 2023 presidential election. The group gathered at the Unity Fountain in Abuja, saying the result of the poll is not a reflection of the will of Nigerians, and vowed to seek legal redress.
No more election rigging. No. This particular election will be challenged through the democratic means, with our level of agitation at the same time in the court of law. But as we do that, this particular congregation is happening around the 36 states of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yes. To count and demand that the election that took place on the 25th of February should be presented to the Nigerian people. We are saying too, we have proof that votes were being allocated to states. Do not be under any illusion. What you saw that we won election in Lagos was a fluke. What we won in Lagos was more than 500,000 people. We won above 900,000. And at the same time, the point was allocated for Kano so that will cool the temper in Kano that election was won by Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. He won more than that in that particular state. The allocation was also done in Katsina, where they allocated the same amount to Atiku in order to cool the temper down. But the fact is that we are no fools. They allocated the election to themselves where they can have overriding influence. But today we have unplugged their plan. We are saying that we are going to resist this continuously. We are not going to stop until Peter Obi, who won this election, is being returned as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is our mandate, and we will continue to pressure that this particular election that is under sham, those who have mortgaged and murdered our election must be investigated.
We'll take a break on News Round, and when we return, more stories that made the rounds during the week. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Now, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi says he won Saturday's presidential election and is vowing to prove it to Nigerians. Mr. Obi, who was speaking for the first time since the poll, told a world press conference in Abuja that the process that led to the declaration of a president-elect was flawed and fell short of the minimum standard of conducting free and fair elections.
5 days after the presidential elections and 2 after the final results were announced, Mr. Peter Obi is coming to address this world press conference alongside stalwarts of the Labour Party. There are issues he and his party feel should be addressed.
I thank all of you.
After thanking Nigerians for coming out en masse to vote, he condemns the conduct of the exercise.
This election, as you know, did not meet the minimum standard expected of a free, transparent, credible, fair election. It will go down as one of the most controversial elections ever conducted in Nigeria. The good and hard-working people of Nigeria have again been robbed by our supposed leaders whom they trusted. However, let me humbly and most respectfully appeal to all Nigerians to remain peaceful, law-abiding, and conduct themselves in most responsible manner.
He's quick to outline his next line of action.
Let me reiterate, and I assure you that good people of Nigeria, that will explore all legal and peaceful action to reclaim our mandate. We won the election, and we will prove it to Nigerians.
He encourages the youths not to allow current events blow their dream of a new Nigeria.
And I see people all over the place, and young people, and they're crying and telling me, I'm going to leave this country. I can no longer stay. And I feel the pain. Just like I said, the young girl was crying today as she was trying to boil water and everything. But I'm preaching to all of them, please stay. I'm not going to go away. I'm going to stay with you. And I assure you, we will overcome.
Mr. Peter Obi of the Labour Party says he has enough evidence to go through all the appropriate channels to get back the mandate he believes the Nigerian people gave to him. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has also vowed to challenge the outcome of the presidential election. Also in his first public statement after the election, Mr. Abubakar described Saturday's poll as a rape of democracy, which was grossly flawed.
The 2023 presidential election presented our nation and its people the greatest opportunity for a reset. We had everything going for us. A legal framework in the 2022 Electoral Act and the Beavers technology. The enthusiasm of Nigerians to turn out and in large numbers was an added bonus. However, the dreams and aspirations of Nigerians who braced all the challenges to go and cast their votes on Saturday, 25th of February 2023, were shattered by the conduct of the Independent National Electoral Commission, which failed woefully to live up to expectations. The weekend election was neither free nor fair. Preliminary assessments indicate that it is the worst conducted election since the return to democratic rule. The manipulation and fraud that attended this election was unprecedented in the history of our nation. I can still not understand why the electoral umpire was in such a hurry to conclude collation and announcement of the results, given the number of complaints and irregularities of bypassing of the Beavers, failure of uploading to the IRVE, and unprecedented cancellations and disfranchisement of millions of voters in breach of the Electoral Act and the Commission's own guidelines. It was indeed a rape of democracy. Having consulted with leaders of our party who are seated here with me, and Nigerians from different walks of life, I have come to the conclusion that the processes and outcome of the presidential and National Assembly elections of last Saturday was grossly flawed in every material particular, and as such must be challenged by all of us.
Now to other stories, specifically the controversial Naira redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria, which the nation's highest court has now nullified. In a unanimous judgment, the 7-man panel of the Supreme Court also ordered that the old Naira notes in the 200, 500 and 1,000 denominations should remain legal tender until December the 31st, 2023. Justice Emmanuel Agim, who read the lead judgment, also faulted the policy of the Apex Bank, saying the timing and implementation were defective.
It is judgment day in the suit challenging the Naira redesign policy of the federal government. And as expected, the main courtroom of the Supreme Court is filled with lawyers and the governors of Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara states. The three governors had instituted the suit challenging the policy. As at the last sitting on February the 22nd, a total of 16 states who applied to be joined were consolidated. They prayed the apex court to set aside the policy on the ground that it was inflicting hardship on Nigerians. Delivering judgment, Justice Emmanuel Agim held that the unconstitutional use of powers by President Muhammadu Buhari on the policy has breached the fundamental rights of Nigerians. He further states that the president failed to consult with the National Council of States, the Federal Executive Council, and the National Economic Council before directing the Central Bank of Nigeria to introduce the new Naira notes. Citing Section 23, subsection 2 of the Constitution, the court holds that a dispute between the Federation and states must involve law or facts. The court further held that implementation of the directive by the Central Bank of Nigeria has deprived the plaintiffs access to their funds, and the president's broadcast of the 15th of February acknowledges this, and this has affected the governance of these states. The apex court further holds that the president in his broadcast admitted that the policy is flawed with a lot of challenges. The apex court held that President Muhammadu Buhari breached the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the way he issued directives for the redesigning of the Naira by the Central Bank of Nigeria.
We came to the Supreme Court to make Nigeria better. And by this judgment, no future president or central bank governor can come and announce a policy that ambushes the lives and the livelihoods of the Nigerian people anymore. We are very proud of what we have done, no matter what people say about us. But now that the Supreme Court has spoken unequivocally, I am confident that all the orders will be complied with.
Today's judgment is on behalf of all the people of Nigeria. It's not just the states that have won. It's on behalf of all the people of Nigeria who have been made to go through misery, pain.
The counsel to the federal government is optimistic that the order will be obeyed.
The Supreme Court has spoken. We cannot sit in judgment over the Supreme Court. I expect the CBN to comply. I expect the President to comply. We are a nation under law. The Supreme Court has spoken, and we are bound.
The court adds that the president's disobedience of the February 8 order is a sign of dictatorship and autocracy.
Finally, on News Round, rail workers across Greece embarked on a one-day strike after Tuesday's train crash, which killed at least 57 people. The walkout follows protests in Athens, Thessaloniki, and the city of Larissa near the site of the disaster. A passenger train carrying 350 people collided with a freight train after both ended up on the same track, causing the front carriages to burst into flames.
Around 1,000 demonstrators took to the streets a day after at least 45 people were killed when two trains collided head-on. The disaster has led to a national outpouring of grief and anger, with protesters blaming the government. Some hurled stones at windows of the offices of Hellenic Train, and police in riot gear dispersed them with tear gas. Earlier in the evening, things had been more peaceful with a candlelight vigil nearby.
We have gathered here outside the offices of the company with a lot of rage, shocked by what happened today, where so many lives and souls were lost.
The passenger train carried more than 300 passengers and 10 crew, with 2 crew on the cargo cabin. Many of the passengers on board were students in their 20s, returning to the Thessaloniki after a long weekend celebrating Greek Orthodox Lent. All trains scheduled to run today have been suspended after railway workers said they would strike. According to the striking rail workers, they had repeated calls for more permanent staff, training, and modern security technology, which had been ignored. A station master has been arrested in the wake of a crash passengers described as nightmarish that engulfed their train in flames just before midnight. Authorities are trying to work out how the trains collided. They say the two trains had been on the same track for many kilometers. The country's transport minister, however, has submitted his resignation, saying he took responsibility for the state's, quote, long-standing failures to fix a system of railways he says were not fit for the 21st century. A new transport minister has been appointed, and the government has promised an independent investigation that it promises will deliver justice.
And that's News Round this week. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Victor Matthias.